There is a word in the English language that describes situations that are difficult to deal with and makes people dealing with those situations uncomfortable. And what makes it worse is that they are generally unavoidable. That word is awkward. And with that, I give you the Volkswagen Polo Bluemotion. Yes, the timing of our review of this, the company's economy champion and pinnacle of eco-friendliness, couldn't be worse, given that Volkswagen are neck-deep in a scandal revolving around their underhanded sneakiness related to economy and eco-friendliness. No doubt a lot of what I say about this car now will be tempered with a dose of skepticism. It's understandable, even if Dieselgate, as it's come to be known, isn't related to this car or this engine at all. That's because it isn't a diesel, but more on that in a bit. There are some very obvious indications that this is a Bluemotion, and I don't just mean the badges. It has a lower ride height with a more aerodynamic grille and wheels, and low rolling resistance tyres. And then there are the bits that you can't see. A flat underbody that helps reduce drag, and a radiator that has a set of louvers which open to allow for the cooling required before closing again to improve airflow. They may now have a tough time getting people to trust their exact figures, but the engineering to improve this car's efficiency is quite common sense. Less air resistance means better fuel consumption, and better fuel consumption has been the preserve traditionally of diesel motors. The previous generation Polo Bluemotion used a diesel, but now Volkswagen have switched things up slightly by dropping a TSI petrol motor in here. And they've put as much effort into making that engine as efficient as possible as they have into the rest of the car combined. That effort involved many heavily technical and not very exciting things, but to simplify, they worked on the engine management, made it lighter than the previous 1.2 diesel, and they gave it more power. The new 1-litre 3-cylinder puts out 77 kilowatts and 160 newton meters and will reach a healthy top speed of 191 kilometers an hour. It'll also do the 0 to 100 sprint time in 10.5 seconds, but of course Bluemotion isn't about speed and other such nonsense. It's about just sipping fuel and coughing up as little CO2 as possible. Now, park your cynicism about Volkswagen's economy claims for just a second, as I tell you the fuel consumption figure for this car is 4.2 litres per 100 kilometers, and the CO2 count is under 100 grams per kilometer. 92 grams to be exact, and although we weren't able to count each individual CO2 as it left the exhaust pipe, if nothing else it means this car is exempt from the emissions tax. On the fuel consumption front, things weren't quite as positive. The lowest figure we saw for a very brief time was 4.6 litres per 100, but the average consumption was just over 6 litres per 100 Ks. What makes it disappointing is that Volkswagen are punting this car as their economy champion, but its figures really aren't that much different to anything else with a 1-litre motor and a similar price tag. Ford Fiesta, for example, more power, more torque, but its consumption and its emissions are virtually identical. So then, why would you opt for a car that claims to be an eco-champ when its achievements are about the same as anything else? I guess for the same reason you'd buy a hybrid car, which over its lifespan is actually no better for the environment than a regular car, but while you're driving it, it makes you feel good about your choices. Which is fine because you still get a good drive. The engine's got a nice punch, the 5-speed manual gearbox is good, and the ride setup is as comfortable as any other Polo. The whole package is far better than the previous generation Bluemotion, and that just means that while you're out saving the world, you don't have to sacrifice an enjoyable commute. The interior also makes sure you don't skimp on anything. It's actually a little nicer than the regular monochrome VW interior, thanks to the silver slab in the center stack. With it, you get a proper infotainment system with all the connectivity you require, great build quality and good space, and instructions on how to become a more fuel-efficient driver. It is entirely comparable to the others in this class, but with a touch of solidity that goes some way to justifying its higher price tag. The extra money you spend on this car does buy you one of the best drives at the price. And it's also money spent on telling the world you have an eco-conscience, because according to Volkswagen, this car wins the efficiency prize in its class. According to everyone else's figures, though, it is a narrow victory. And according to us, the Ford Fiesta offers a better all-round package. The Polo Bluemotion packs a 3-cylinder turbo motor and a 5-speed manual gearbox that deliver decent power and are claimed to be the most efficient drive in its class. It does dodge the CO2 tax and can deliver impressive fuel economy, and doesn't do either at the expense of a comfortable and well-spec'd drive. But for all its planet-friendly credentials, it's not substantially better or more efficient than the cheaper Ford Fiesta.